Everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Signed the Traitors. We are a Traitors recap podcast brought to you by Silent Podcasts, and I am your host, Katie, and I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Javier. Javier, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing great. This was a great episode of the Traitors. Dare I say my favorite episode of the season? Dare I say a 10 out of 10 episode?
10 out of 10?
I just really loved from start to finish. I really just loved it. What about you, Katie? How are you doing? What are your thoughts so far?
I'm doing great. I can't wait to hear all your thoughts. 10 out of 10. I thought this was a great episode too. But I have some gripes with some of the moves that were made, and I have a lot of thoughts about them. So I'm excited to get into it. I'm excited. But I thought it was a great episode. I feel like things are really picking up toward the seeming like the season is kind of coming to a close a little bit. And I feel like things are really getting a little crazy.
Yeah, it was very intense. I was scared. Unfortunately, we lost my boy Kevin.
I know.
So I was very sad that I would lose my steam for the season. But no, these people are bringing it. They're giving me drama. They're giving me gameplay. And I think we're going to continue that when we get to the end. Episode 8 seems like it's also going to have a lot of drama. So I think we're going to end on a high note, it seems. I'm fingers crossed. So
I think we are too. And I have to admit, I'm coming around on Trevon. I'm kind of liking Trevon. I know.
Okay, we'll get into it because
we'll get into it. Okay, I can't wait to get into it. Okay, let's jump right in. Okay. So, as a recap, we're coming to you a little later than we normally do this week, so we'll give a quick recap. I mean, we always give a quick recap, but we'll give a recap anyway. We opened to Kuzi and Mike celebrating Kevin's banishment. So sad. Mike tells us that his plan was totally different than what they had talked about, which I don't know what they talked about. I feel like we didn't see what they talked about. I didn't really know what their plan was going into the roundtable necessarily from Mike's side. So I do feel like, I don't know, we're missing some stuff here. The math isn't mathing on the edit, I fear, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know what Mike was alluding to.
Yeah, nor did I. He was like really high on his own supply about this banishment. He was like, Kevin is a powerful player, whatever. We made such a good move. I was just like over it with Mike.
I do think it was good for the Traitors though. This was like the best person to banish because if Kevin stayed in, he was gonna go harder for Mike, and then he was gonna get more inkling on Kuzi. So I think this actually turned out perfectly for the Traitors, banishing Kevin and not having to murder him.
Well, I have some thoughts about who they did murder, but I do want to say Valencia in the chat says, Katie's not being shady. What? Just wait, Valencia, because I have some shady things to say about some other people on this show. We'll get there. Don't worry. It's coming.
We will get to the killing, but I agree with you. I don't agree with who they killed either, but we'll get it.
Yeah, so like they could have done this a lot better. But yes, I think if they really wanted Kevin out, which it doesn't, it wasn't clear on who they really were gunning for at the round table, like I said, but I do think this was a good move because Kevin had the shield. So if they wanted Kevin out, great job, guys. You got him out. Kuzi said she's feeling the heat a little bit. They can't do a recruitment. Yeah, I know. Her name was thrown out a lot at the round table the night before. That will not, spoiler alert, will not be the end of the amount of times we hear Kuzi's name because it's all over the place this episode. And they're still working through death row, so they can't recruit anybody. So there's no one to really take the heat off Kuzi because they are still going into death row. So as a reminder, Mary and Mel A are the two left on death row that they have to choose from. And in my mind, I was screaming, do not murder Mary. Do not murder Mary. Do not murder Mary. Who'd they murder? Javier, tell me who they murdered.
They did indeed murder Mary.
What are these people thinking? What are these people thinking?
So let's talk about it. So this is, again, we've talked about the edit, and the edit made it seem like they were going to kill Mel. They were literally saying Mel is a smart person to kill. Mel has been getting inkling. She's real. And I agree. Mel is who I would have killed.
Absolutely.
And people had suspicions of Mary. Why kill Mary when people have suspicions of her? So I do agree with you. And I wrote in my notes in all caps, bad. Like, I think this was a bad move on their part. I do think that. They should have killed Mel 100%.
I am just like, not only is Mary suspected of being a traitor, so she could be a shield for them in the future. They could work together, they could continue to keep her name out there. It would be
Yeah.
even more suspicious if she didn't get murdered and she was the only one of the three left on death row that already had suspicion on her, that alone. But she also was on the red team, and these people are not letting this go about the shield.
Mhm.
So they're cutting more people from the red team, especially someone who could have taken all of the heat from murdering someone within their own team, and then they just murdered her. Like, Kuzi, this is an all-time bad move, and I'm like, Kuzi, why did you not push back on this and go for Mel?
Mhm.
Like, this is a terrible move for Kuzi.
Mhm. That's why I was also confused because Kuzi said the red team thing. That's
Yes.
why I thought they were going to kill Mel A. So the whole discussion that they had would really made it seem that they were going to kill Mel A. I was like, Mel A's gone. Like, it's a smart choice. They're onto this whole red team strategy that has been mentioned before, but then they still kill the red team person. So that was definitely a bad move on their end.
Yes.
I do agree with you on that.
I was
But
just
did they
shocked.
suffer from it after we watched the whole episode?
I mean, it's hard to say because I feel like they are so out there, the two of them now at this point. Whereas maybe they could have been less out there if they kept Mary and they could have just said, oh, I guess the traitor's Mary. I mean, obviously she's not. And if she got banished at the round table, everybody would know she's a faithful. So, I mean, like
Mhm.
it would have bought them a little more time, but it just feels like keep her around at least as another member of the red team to keep Leroy and Gurleen suspicions off of Kuzi, because now the only people left on that red team that could have had the shield and murdered are Kuzi, Leroy, and Gurleen. And the
Yeah.
three of them are working together. So it's like, I just don't, they all could have come together and been like, it had to be Mary, it had to be Mary, it had to be Mary. And now Mary's gone, so they can't place any blame on Mary. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. No, overall, I think it was a bad game move. And it just makes me sad. I feel like we've talked about this multiple times this season, where Kuzi has an idea, but for some reason she keeps letting Mike
Yeah.
get his way. And I'm gonna be very, very disappointed if Mike outlasts Kuzi because I just cannot see it. Because I don't think Mike has been playing this game well, but it
Yep.
seems like maybe he has been. Like, it's just very weird to me because as a viewer, I don't think Mike's playing a good game.
Right.
But then like Kuzi keeps giving him his way, so maybe he is playing a good game. So I don't know if Mike does outlast Kuzi, maybe he is playing a better game, and I'll have to rethink what I've watched. I don't know.
I know.
I don't know. It's kind of throwing me off a little bit.
I know, me too. And I wonder if it's because we're watching it knowing that he's the traitor. So we're able to look at all of these moves as terrible moves that he's making. But for some reason, the people in the house are snowed by this guy. Well, maybe less so this week, it seems.
Mhm.
But thus far, but I agree with you. I don't understand why Kuzi continuously lets Mike steer the ship, because Mike, as we find out, is just not to be trusted in general. Like, I just feel like Mike was running his mouth this entire episode. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I don't know. I'm really, really disappointed that Mel was able to stay. And she also, like, just sowed seeds of distrust all episode against Kuzi. So this, like, it just piled onto an all-time bad
Mhm.
move.
Agreed.
A mess. A mess. When we get to breakfast, everybody that comes in is celebrating being the first ones. And I'm like, why are you guys celebrating? You know who, that only one of two people can be murdered. So, like, why are you all like partying? I don't know. It just seems weird.
I'll live another day, I guess.
I
Still
guess.
excited, right?
Yeah. Maybe they're really hungry and the food's really good. I don't know.
True.
Trevon says that Kevin did this to himself because Kevin kept to himself. And I was like, Kevin clearly did not keep to himself. So I just don't know what you're talking about here. I wrote that down because I was like, what?
Yeah, that's it's if anything, it's been the opposite. Kevin has not been able to keep
Right.
anything to himself, which is why he's gone. So
Right. Very strange. Very strange. Mike, when it's just the four of them, it's Mike, May, Trevon, and Donna who walk in first. That's the first group into the breakfast. And Mike basically says, like, while it's just us, I think we're like team leftovers. Like, I feel good about you guys. I just want to say to this group, if Mary is murdered today, then I can guarantee that there's at least one traitor on the red team. My guy, what are you doing?
he's
What are
putting
you doing?
so much heat on Kuzi. He is
Unreal.
putting heat on Kuzi.
He's
And
like
then later on in
purposely
the
doing it.
yeah, and then later on in the episode, we see him get mad at Kuzi. We'll talk about that later. But like, bro, you've been putting heat on Kuzi the whole episode already.
Yes. Yes. And he like specifically says Kuzi, Leroy, and Gurleen are the
Yeah.
people who are like he says it. And then to us in the confessional, he says he's specifically trying to put heat on Leroy and Gurleen. But if Leroy and Gurleen work together, then maybe they'll suss out Kuzi. And this is just such a terrible, terrible idea. Because we see later in the episode, and we'll get to it more in depth as we get there, but he and Kuzi have a conversation and they're like, we need each other.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? This was wild to me.
I agree. Again, this is another moment where I'm confused. Is Mike outplaying Kuzi, or is Mike just bad at the game?
Right.
Because I'm saying it now, y'all. I'm gonna say it on the podcast right now. If we get to the end of the season and Mike wins, I'm gonna have to relook all of Mike's moves because clearly they worked. Because
Right.
clearly on paper, to me, this sounds like a bad move, putting heat on Kuzi. But if now the target becomes Kuzi and he never becomes a target because of this, then he actually outplayed her. So again, maybe Mike is playing the long game and we're not seeing it yet. So that's what this episode has done for me. The whole episode, I'm seeing like maybe Mike is playing the long game here. So I don't know.
I don't know. I do feel like throughout this episode there was a lot of heat on both Mike and Kuzi. It seems like those two, and we'll get into it a little bit more, but as we go through it, but it does feel like they're both feeling the pressure, but it almost feels like Mike is way more comfortable throwing Kuzi under the bus publicly, and Kuzi is not doing that to Mike. So I think that in itself is putting Mike maybe a step ahead of Kuzi, unfortunately. And I hate to see it because like we've been talking about, like you said this whole time, it's like watching Christian snow everybody from, US Traitors. And like, we know Christian wasn't snowing anyone. And it just like drives me crazy that Mike's tactics are like working on people.
Agreed.
Ugh, Mike. Ugh. Well, we get some news from Leroy. He wants to work with Donna.
Yes, Leroy Donna alliance.
Love to see it. I'm into it. I'm into it. I don't know that Donna's a great replacement for Kevin, but Donna is like all in. She feels comfortable. She feels like she doesn't want to take the game personally. She's like become comfortable not taking it personally. She feels like she's played awkwardly so far. But she says something here, and I went back and I could not make it out. And I don't know if you were able to make it out or if you took it in your notes, but she said she feels like she's being framed. And then she said something that sounded like escape artist. And then the camera flashed to Mike. And I couldn't tell if she was like throwing out Mike to Leroy at this time at the breakfast or like what was happening. But I went back and she just talks so fast. I had to stop. I had to pause so many times to like note down what Donna was saying because she was just talking a mile a minute. So just slow it down a little bit, Donna, for us, please. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I didn't. That didn't really. I didn't catch that. The only thing that I'm pretty sure she did say she wanted to target Mel A though, like verbatim.
Yeah.
I think she told Leroy that, but I didn't get the
she did too. Yeah, I don't think she said Mike. I heard her say something like escape artist, and then like the camera panned to Mike. So I don't know like if she was alluding to Mike or what she was doing. But she did also say that she's happy to stand up and be banished as a faithful, which I was like, Donna, please relax.
Like, what does that even mean?
We don't need you to do that. We don't need you to do that.
To lose. Like, you're here to win. Come on.
Right. Like, what are we doing here? Don't do that. But if it means that Donna is going to take some big swings and not be scared to do it, I'm here for it. And we saw her come out of her shell a little bit this episode. This was a good Donna episode.
It was.
Yeah.
I agree.
Loved Donna. Gurleen tells us that she feels lost without Kevin. She's taking this really hard. And she says she's shocked by Kevin leaving, but she's also shocked by Kevin's behavior. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know that they kind of like when she said this, they flash back to Kevin like having a little bit of a fit at the round table. And I'm like, I don't feel like his behavior was that shocking personally, but I don't know. I guess everybody's pretty sensitive.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like Kevin has played this game like Kevin. So like when Trevon said whatever he said in the beginning, Gurleen saying this, like nothing that Kevin has done in those 6 episodes he was on was shocking to me at all. If you know anything about Kevin's game on social, like reality TV shows. So
yeah, I guess they didn't know much about it.
Maybe they did.
Yeah. Then we find out they murdered Mary, and I wrote in all caps, they murdered Mary with like 100 question marks and exclamation points, and I wrote, what the fuck? Because I just could not believe that they did this.
I agreed. I like I said earlier, I literally thought they were killing Malay. The way they were just talking about it, the strategy that Mike and Kuzi were talking about, and then to see Mary get murdered, I was like, huh? So I agree. I was very confused.
I do not understand. I don't understand the logic here. Mel A says she thinks the traitors kept her as a pawn. And then Trevon is like, well, now I think Mel is suspicious, which I'm like, okay, I mean, great if that's what you think. But yeah, here I wrote that this, in my notes, I said this is literally an all-time bad game move. Kuzi says Melissa is a better help and doesn't see how Mary can help her moving forward. And I literally wrote, girl, people think she is a traitor. She put her under the spotlight for having the shield. Like, I'm just baffled. I'm baffled. How is Mel helping you? Mel actually did the opposite of help you throughout this episode, Kuzi.
And even in the last episode, if we remember the last episode, it ended with Mel telling Leroy, bro, I think Kevin was right that Kuzi is a traitor. Yes. And then I also want to highlight, we get Leroy saying he wants to target Melee because he said that Kuzi was a traitor. So this was just Leroy playing poorly. I was like, Leroy, what? Melee tells you this and then you spill it to the whole house and then you want to target her because she's trying to help you? Like, these people are not self-interested, I feel. Like, we need to be a bit more self-interested in this game. You got to keep some things to yourself. And Leroy did not need to throw Mel under the bus because Mel could be right, and we know she is right.
She is right,
But, you know, I feel like in this game, you got to, or in all these types of games, you need to keep some stuff to yourself. And he didn't have to throw Mel under the bus there, especially if he was working with Mel, which, I don't know, it was just weird gameplay on Leroy's part.
Yeah, I can't get an actual read on Leroy. I don't really know what his end game is or what his end goal is. I mean, obviously it's to win, but I just don't see what his strategy is here I don't think there is much. I just feel like we say so many times across all of these different reality shows that we watch and we talk about is that like information is power and you can use it as currency and you should be trading it at the right times. And like, these people are just not doing that. They're just spilling. They are spilling everything all over the place. They are not, as far as what we see, having like one-on-one conversations. It's just, I don't know. It's just kind of a mess. It's just a mess.
Yes. So a lot of these reads are a bit messy. I agree.
Yeah. I don't know. It's crazy. After breakfast, we get, speaking of Leroy, a confessional, and he's weighing his options on who he can work with. So I guess he's like trying to be activated now all of a sudden. I don't really understand where Leroy came from this week. He woke up midway through.
Agreed.
Yeah.
We got a lot of Leroy content for some reason.
Yeah, and I think he like wants to work with Mickey and Donna, which I'm like, this is a really weird group. Like Mickey,
I'm sorry, he chose the two worst people. The two people who, if we're talking about people's heads are not in the game, these two are literally the least amount of head in the game energy.
Yes.
Mickey.
Especially Mickey.
Like I've said before, Mickey is Ryan Lochte. He is just vibing here, guys. He is just here to vibe and eat the breakfast. Like, that's what he's here for.
Literally put a shield in his sock. That's like what he's here for. I don't. Okay, Leroy. I mean, I don't know. But you're right. He does say he feels manipulated by Mel A. Excuse me. Donna is overthinking. Mel is on her radar. Excuse me. She thinks Donna is using her as a pawn. Leroy shares that Mel A. Oh, sorry. Hold on one second. I'm just going to take a sip of water. Okay, I'm back. I think maybe. And Leroy is not assuming that Kuzi's a traitor. He thinks Mel and Kuzi could. I'm sorry. I don't know what's happening to me. This is the beauty of doing this live. One second. Okay, there we go. He thinks that Mel and Kuzi could be traitors going against each other, which is interesting. That's a thought. It's a thought. Not a correct thought, but it's a thought.
Yeah.
Half correct, I guess, kind of.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's good to see like some gaming going on there.
Yeah.
Could be right, but it's not. But it could be.
Yeah, you know, whatever. At least he's trying. Then we're in the cars on the way to the challenge. May is in the car. She thinks it's Kuzi. She's all in on Kuzi. She is acting suspicious at the round table. She's been voting out people who she's vocally said she didn't think are traitors. All in on Kuzi. In the other car, Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Gurleen and Leroy are in the car with May, which
Mhm.
I think is a good thing because they trust Kuzi. Like, she's not really spreading that to people who don't trust Kuzi. They're not
Mhm.
100% convinced about what she's saying. On the other car, we have Trevon with Donna and Kuzi. And Trevon, this is what started getting me to turn in a positive direction on Trevon. He is starting to look at Mike. He's
Yeah.
thinking that the only person, finally, somebody brings this up. The only person who put Mike's name up was Gerpier, our guy Gerpier, gone too soon.
Shout out.
And he was murdered the next day. He brings up what Gerpier said as a reminder. He said, "If I get murdered tomorrow, it was Mike." Um, he's finally putting these pieces together of like, oh, this person went home. This person pointed their finger at Mike, then they went home. This person pointed their finger at Mike, then they went home. And Kuzi plays it safe here. She doesn't really defend Mike because she doesn't want to get the suspicion on her.
Mhm.
And at this point, I just had this thought of like, they really should have just recruited like 2 weeks ago. At this point,
Yeah.
it's getting down to the wire for these two, and it's a little dangerous. Like they should have had some fodder to throw out there at this point.
Mhm. I'm guessing they're just not going to get to recruit this season. Like we're going into episode
Yeah,
8. This is probably what, like a 10, maybe a 12 episode season. So
yeah,
maybe
right.
if
And we
no
must be
one gets
close to the end.
eliminated, but then if you recruit a traitor at like with like the final 6 or 7, like at that point it's just not even. I feel like it's a little unfair, like in the traitors' advantage. So I'm wondering if they will ever be able to recruit now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting. And I'm interested to see what happens if one of them does end up leaving soon. Because it feels like that's in the cards at some point. Are they going to be forced to
Hmm.
recruit? What's really going to happen? Um,
Hmm.
but I just feel like waiting this long was maybe not the best for
Hmm.
them.
Yeah.
Um, the mission, we get to the mission. It's the mission where they have to search for barrels with different
Hmm.
monetary values on them, then push up a hill. And then I think there's 3 shield barrels that they can also push up the hill.
Hmm.
Um, this was boring. I skipped through most of it, I have to be honest, but I did
I
see there
think
was a little bit of drama between Kuzi and May, which I
the
love. I
build up.
love
I'm liking the build up.
I love it. I love it. May is mad because Kuzi, they're all pushing and they're all just like huffing and puffing about how that this is so hard. They're all bent over, they're pushing these huge barrels, whatever.
Hmm.
And Kuzi is holding I think Kate had these barrels in the US and she was like throwing them away. They're
Yeah.
like the tiny ones that are $500 or a couple $100. Um,
Yeah.
which I love. I just love that moment from Kate. So
Yeah.
Kuzi's just walking with them, and May kind of calls her out and is like, "You're not pushing. Like we have to switch." And Kuzi is not happy about it. And May is like, "I think she's mad at me, but whatever." And I just think May needs to relax.
But like,
May
is
is
May
like
wrong?
making this like Rick. Is May what?
But is May wrong? I don't
No,
know. I
she's
think
not
May's
really wrong.
like, I agree. Like, girl, let's take turns. This is a heavy barrel, so I don't know. I feel like May made a lot of points this episode, and I think this was one.
Ooh. Ooh.
So
Well, okay. I mean, also, this whole mission, they were talking about how they have done really poorly in the challenges and have missed a lot of money. So they're like, we have to like get the big barrels, we have to get the big barrels. So where I think May would have had more leg to stand on here is like toss those little ass barrels away and pick up a big barrel and push it. Like we don't need these $250 barrels or $500 barrels. Take a big one. Like that's worth more. Take a big one. Um so I don't know, but Kuzi does end up pushing a barrel. She switches. She does it.
nice.
She does it. They decide to just forego the shield. They want the money, and they end up making $10,500 to in adding that to the pot.
Pretty penny, finally.
Yeah, finally. How did you feel about this mission? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, again, like you, I sped through most of it. Again, it was a repeat from the U.S.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember from the U.S., like you mentioned, was Kate. Like Kate was amazing in this challenge as usual. She was
Yeah.
hilarious. She was
Yep.
just like, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge was fine. Good for them for making the money. I'm glad that no one took the shield.
Yeah.
Um, just because I'm like tired of the shield. Like
I'm
it
kind of tired
like
of the shield
decreases
too.
the drama a little bit for me. So the fact
Me
that
too.
everyone's available makes it more exciting to me, especially now that the numbers are dwindling. So I was glad that no one took the shield.
Yeah, I was glad too. I was actually going to ask you what you thought about the strategy to let go of the shield. Um,
Mhm.
what I think is wild is that the first challenge that had the shield was that like airplane challenge with the puzzles where
Mhm.
Kuzi ended up getting it. They are still talking about that, and that was like 4 challenges ago,
Yeah.
which is just kind of crazy to me that this is now like that's the only shield that really ended up mattering. Like Kevin's, I think would have if he didn't get banished at the round table, but
Mhm.
yeah, interesting that like one shield had such an impact and the rest were kind of just like flops or just they just left them.
Mhm.
Do you think that the no shield is going to impact the murder this week?
Mm, no, because I feel like the thing with this is that I don't know who would have gotten the shield,
Mm-hmm.
so it's hard for me to say will it
Yeah.
impact the game. So it wasn't like last week, like where if Kevin got it, that impacted the game. If he wasn't banished, So I think that the fact that we don't know who was in the running for the shield really, I don't think it's gonna really make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I guess not. What about you?
Yeah, I was thinking about it, and I think it could, depending on who got it, but
Right.
at this point, I feel like they have to be really strategic anyway, which we haven't seen, about who they're going to murder. So it really should only impact things if like a specific few people ended up winning it.
Mhm.
But with us not knowing who possibly could have gotten it, I guess it's not
Exactly.
that big of a deal.
Oh, the other thing I want to highlight
Yeah.
again, we talk about this every episode. Corinne looked really good. She was wearing a really
Oh,
dope skirt,
yes.
and she's beating it again. So shout out to Corinne. I'm gonna shout her out every episode that I see a fire look. So shout out to you.
She looked amazing here and the round table. She looked
Yes, the
her
pink.
outfit at the round table. Yes, the
Yes,
pink. Oh my god, she looked amazing.
so good.
She looks so good. I love her. I think she's up there. Claudia from the UK is definitely my favorite host, but like Karine might be right there in line with her. Claudia, I think I know you haven't watched it yet, but she was just so much she seemed very invested in the game and I love that.
Mm,
Like she seemed like she was like almost a fan. And if we got a little more of that from Karine, like then I would really like I think she would
mhm.
surpass her, but she's crushing it. I love her. Um Post mission. We get May still talking about Kuzi not pushing. I'm just like, I don't know. May does a lot. She like picks one person and then she just like harps on that person and she does not, she's like a chihuahua. She just like does, she's like, ee, and she just like is barking, barking, biting ankles until people pay attention to her. And it's like, honestly, truly the most annoying. She annoys the hell out of me.
Oh my gosh, no! This is
I'm
where the
sorry,
first
May.
time we're breaking away, Katie, because
I'm sorry, Javier.
I was gung ho about May in the beginning because I thought she was
Mm-hmm.
gonna be good at the game. She became a mess. I love the mess, and now she's playing the game again, and I think she's making some good reads. So I'm back on the main train that she is doing well. So, but I do agree with you in that sense. Like when I guess maybe the fact that I like May is because she's doing it towards someone who is a traitor.
Yeah.
So she's like doing it towards Kuzi. So to me, it's like a good gameplay. So
Yeah.
I feel like if it was to someone who wasn't a trader, then I'd be like, come on, man, like you gotta be, you couldn't be so like you gotta expand your horizons here and look at other people. But since it's
Right.
on Kuzi, who is a trader, to me, I think that's why I'm liking this gameplay from May because it's
Because
showing that
she's
she's
right.
thinking about
Yeah.
the game. She's right.
I just don't. I think if I were playing this game and I were playing with May, I would be doing everything in my power to get May out of this house because she, to me, is a distraction from like, because just I'm thinking about how she was with Rick and she was so die hard anti Rick and she was wrong. And I just feel like once you're wrong like that after being so loud, yes, she happens to be right here, but like, I don't know, just take a step back for a minute and maybe don't be so loud because you were so loud and wrong last time. I don't know. She just didn't. She's under my skin. She's under my
I
skin.
hear you. I
And I
get it.
just
I
love my
get
girl
it.
Kuzi, so I just don't want anyone coming for her. Um, in the other car, Gurleen, Leroy, and Kuzi are together. Love that. And they're talking about May and they're annoyed about her approach. And Kuzi's like starting to put some pieces together of like Rick is gone and she was gung ho about Rick. Crystal was suspicious of her. Now Crystal's gone and immediately got murdered. So I was like, I like this from Kuzi trying to put some suspicion on May. I don't know that people are really. I think the way May is playing, it's obvious that she's a faithful.
Agreed.
So I just don't know that that's going to gain a lot of traction in the future
Mhm.
if she's like trying to pin it on May, but I don't know.
So before I move on, I want to talk about these
Mm-hmm.
cards.
Yes,
How do they decide who's winning these cards? Because
I would love
I don't
to.
know. Let me be honest. I wrote this in my notes, and maybe I'm exaggerating, but it seems like a bit of production messing around here because
Mm,
in the first car, Kuzi was the people who were against her, and like Leroy, Gerline, and I don't remember who the other person, but Kuzi wasn't in that car, and they were kind of plotting against Kuzi. So this time they throw Kuzi in with Gerline and Leroy, her closest allies, so they have this alone time to talk. So do
Yeah.
you feel like this is a little bit of production tangling with the game? Because I kind of got that vibe this episode for the first time. I was like, oh, it's a little weird. I wish that we like knew how they were placing the cars. Maybe I'm
Yes.
overthinking it. I don't know. What do you think about this the car
No, I
situation?
kind of agree with you. I agree with you. I do feel like it's weird that I don't know. Let us know how they get into the cars. Like that's just what I just want to see it so I can like are they
Yeah.
choosing to be in the cars together because they're friends? That would make sense. But then on the way to the challenge, like they were with May, who they're not cool with. So like I
Mhm.
probably I'm assuming production is like, okay, you guys go in this car, you guys go in this car, you guys go in this car,
Yeah.
and hope something happens. Because also like maybe May and Kuzi could have happened to be in the same car and like that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe that
Exactly.
could have happened, but like did they separate them on purpose to have them talk about each
Hmm.
other? I agree with you.
Yeah.
I do think it's a little bit weird and I would like to
Hmm.
know more about the process.
Yeah, I just feel like for me, when it comes to reality TV shows, when I don't see things, I get nervous.
Yes,
It's the
me
same thing
too.
on Big Brother. It's the same thing on The Challenge. It's like if I don't see it, I start thinking, is production having a plan in it? So for I don't know, I'm just saying this. This is maybe I'm like going off topic here, but if I were like a reality TV producer, I would try to make everything as visible as possible, so people could never say that we are tampering with the game.
Right.
So
Right.
and I feel like this is a lot of strategy goes down in these cars. So I just
A
wish that we
lot.
knew had a bit more insight. Like you said, it was just three cars lined up and everyone goes their way. I don't care at that point, you know. So
Mhm.
I wish I knew a bit more about that because it seems a little.
No, I agree with you. I think the more transparency we can get on shows like this, the better, because then we can
Mhm.
know is it gameplay, is it production, are they allowed to talk? Like for Survivor, when they go to tribal, like they're not allowed to talk on the way to tribal because they want to keep it. Like I know that because that information's out there, and I'm like, okay,
Exactly.
great. So we know like things didn't flip on the way to tribal, like that thing, whatever.
Mhm.
So I would like to know that about these cars. I agree. I want to know all those logistics. I would like to know. I agree.
Agreed. Yeah.
Um, we get a little bit more of Leroy. He says he has trust with Gerline, and he has nothing about Kuzi to be suspicious about at this point.
Mhm.
So the suspicion from him has ended up on Mel A. Mel called out Trevon in the morning. Leroy's target is Mel. He thought he was the only one, but then he's like, oh, other people are also suspicious of Mel because Trevon also called out
Mhm.
Mel. So now it seems like Mel's name's getting a little bit of traction.
Yeah.
We see Mel and Kuzi speaking and saying Mike is talking about the red team. Mel tells this to Kuzi, and I think this is very important. Mel
Yes.
tells this to
Very
Kuzi.
important.
He's talking about the red team, and Kuzi says, "Oh, Mike is hot and heavy about the red team thing. Let's put that to rest." And Mel agrees. That's what we saw. We didn't see anything
Mhm.
more of that conversation between Kuzi and Mel. But Mel is the one that brought up Mike. That from what we saw, not Kuzi. And this is important later. Um,
Mhm.
and all I have to say is like, Mike, really, what are you doing with this? I mean, if you're targeting Kuzi, just say you're targeting Kuzi, and we could be like, okay, his plan is in motion. But he's
Yeah.
telling us in confessionals he doesn't want to target Kuzi. But you're
Exactly.
doing everything in your power to target Kuzi. Whether you realize or not, that's exactly what you're doing. So, like,
Mhm.
either you are lying to us in the confessional or you're just a complete idiot and you don't
Yeah.
realize that there's only three people on the red team. They're going to figure out that it's Kuzi. And even if
Mhm.
they don't, like getting any heat on Kuzi if you want her to be safe, at least close at least until you get closer to the end,
Yeah.
this is not the move. This is not the move.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this is a moment of for me where when I feel like again in these shows when you have confessionals, just I like them to be honest with the audience. Like tell me
Yes.
exactly what you're thinking. Um, and that's just what I want from Mike because you're telling me one thing, you're doing another thing, and it just don't confuse the viewer. I don't know,
Yeah.
just don't confuse me because you don't gain anything from that. Like be honest with us. You're in the DR, like just tell us what's going on, you know? So that is annoying for Mike on I agree with you on that.
I'm just confused. Like I just don't really get it. If what he's telling us is the truth. It doesn't really make sense to me. Um Kuzi in this conversation also says to Mel that it's unfair gameplay to just target the red team, because what are you going to do? Just like pick off each person on the red team and then everybody on the blue team gets to the end. I mean, she's right in that sense of like, I don't think it's unfair. I think that's an interesting strategy, not one that I want to see from the
Mhm.
Traitors, of like having these challenge teams actually be like alliances that make it to the end together. I would hate that. But I do think it is kind of a strategy. And I think, unfortunately, this goes back to a bad move on Kuzi's part by murdering someone on that team.
Yep, I agree.
I just think that was a bad move. She kind of put herself in this unfortunate position.
Hmm.
Um, Mel is then in another conversation putting out Kuzi's name in front of May and Donna.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, hold on, I have whiplash here, because you were literally just talking to Kuzi, saying Mike's talking about the red team, and now you're putting Kuzi's name out to May and Donna. What is the truth? I mean, we know the truth. I guess she's just telling Kuzi what she
Yeah.
wants to hear, but I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. No, yeah, I exactly like you said, I think she was telling Kuzi what she wants to hear because, as opposed to Mike, Mel we know is targeting Kuzi. We heard it last
Yes.
week, we heard it
Yes.
maybe even the week before that, and we heard it this episode. So yeah, I think with Mel, like it makes sense. And to me, this is another reason why I thought they should have killed Mel because Mel is very smart and she's every episode I feel like she's been picking up on
Yep.
more things that get the traders in danger. So yeah, I think I do think Mel's been playing a really good game, but you see how that turns
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Mel. Um, Donna is an icon and a legend. I love her so far this episode. She goes right to Gurleen and she says they're putting Kuzi's name out, but I'm not there. I don't think it's Kuzi. I think it's
out.
Mike. And then Gurleen agrees. She says Mike is trying to fly under the radar, and Donna says Kuzi's doing a great job. She's playing the game neutrally, and she's doing a great
Yeah.
job.
Mhm.
So, like, let's go, Donna. Maybe she
Okay.
got a vision of Mike's face or something, whatever it is, but I'm here for it.
I wrote in my notes in all caps, Donna the Rat. There's always a rat
Yes.
in all of these reality
Yes.
TV shows. And there's a lot of polarizing opinions on the rat gameplay, whether it's good or
Mm-hmm.
bad.
I love it.
A lot of the times, the rat gameplay really gets you far.
Yep.
So I think on Donna's part, this was great. Um, do I love that kind of gameplay? To an extent. But I am liking Donna giving me that rat gameplay because there's always that rat in all the seasons. And
Oh, yeah.
it was just amazing just seeing Donna just scurry to Gurleen, who's like one of Kuzi's best companions. So I really
I know.
like
I
that from
loved it.
Donna.
I loved it. I'm all in on Donna this episode too. I mean, some of her reads are weird, and saying like I'm ready to go home if I need to as a faithful, like, okay, no,
Mhm.
don't say that, but like these parts I loved from Donna.
Yeah.
Trevon goes to Leroy about Mike and Gerpier.
Mhm.
And he throws out all this evidence of like the people that have been murdered and people who put their name out. And this again is why Trevon is right. I mean, these are correct reads.
Yeah.
So we can't compare him to what's his face anymore and Andy. What's that guy's name?
Quentin and Andy.
Quentin, yes. I keep thinking his name started with a G for some reason, but it's a Q. Quentin and Andy, he's graduated into like
Yeah.
average gameplay where they were terrible. Now he's average. He has reads that are correct. He's putting the pieces
Mhm.
of the puzzle together, which I was happy about. I
Agreed.
liked it. Let's go, Trevon.
Yeah.
May. Then we see May at the bar with Mike, and she says, "Kuzi's putting your name out to Mike." And he goes, "Oh, she's saying my name?" And she's like, "Yeah, she's saying your name. Is this true?"
Yeah. This whole arc because this is takes up the rest of the
Yes, this is
episode.
the rest of the episode.
Argument.
Yep.
So I'm at a loss because May is not even saying that she heard it. May is saying that Mel heard it and told her.
Yes.
So
Yes.
May is being messy right now, which again, it's not the best gameplay, but it's very entertaining to see May be messy like this and just start like, is it a rumor? Is it a lie? Is it the truth? But then we learn later on that Mel says that yes, she told May that. So I guess May is just sharing what she knows, and for some reason she trusts Mike enough to tell him that she wants to target Kuzi. So
Yeah. I if I want to know if Kuzi said Mike's name more than what we saw. That's what I want to know. And I feel like we never got clear confirmation if she did or not. But this just feels wild to me that Mel I don't know. Maybe not so much here, but maybe as it gets to the round table, that May died on this hill about something she didn't even hear herself. I just like, and
Mhm.
there's still traitors in the game, May. Like, you don't know if Mel's a traitor or not. Like, you can't take someone's word like that and then like make it your fight. It just seemed a little like off from May to me, just because she has all of her sights set on Kuzi. She like can't think outside of the Kuzi box.
Yeah, agreed. Something interesting also that happened during this conversation is that maybe it wasn't this conversation, but maybe it was. You'll correct me if it wasn't. But we hear Mike say that he doesn't want Kuzi to go yet,
Yep.
but he wants to keep the red team theory alive. So this is another situation of me seeing that like Mike is kind of throwing a little bit of fire onto Kuzi's name, but at
Mm-hmm.
the same time telling us like let's not go for Kuzi yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is this Mike again trying to outplay Kuzi in the situation? Like,
I don't know. I don't know. And if he really is trying to keep this red team theory alive, but doesn't want Kuzi to go yet, there's only 3 people on the red team. Like, save it for another week instead of like making it this hill you're dying on this week. I just, like, what do you think is going to happen? Leroy
yeah,
knows it's not him. Gerline knows it's not her. Kuzi's name is already out there. I think they trust each other probably more than they trust Kuzi at this point, just because of how much suspicion is out there. It's just like all signs are pointing to whatever the strategy is that you have is getting Kuzi evicted. Like that's just seems like or banished or whatever. Um, I don't know. Mike is a weirdo. I don't
yeah.
know where his head is actually at. It just doesn't really make sense to me.
Agreed.
Um, but I do think it was that conversation. I think it was right around there. And Gerline, we hear her saying that she just feels uncomfortable about Kuzi switching her votes, and that's the only question that she has in her mind.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, but we get a confessional from Mike. I wrote this, and I wrote like "you are" in like big letters with a bunch of question marks because we get a confessional from him saying I'm hearing Kuzi's name out there and people are pushing it, and I'm like, you are the one pushing it. You are the one
Yeah,
pushing it. Maybe
he's
not
so
saying it, but
annoying.
your actions are doing this. Yes, but tonight's the night. Yeah, he wants her in the conclave. Like, then what are you doing? It just drives me crazy. It drives me crazy.
Mhm.
It drives me crazy. We do get a conversation um, between Mike and Kuzi, and he kind of, he approaches her and says, "I heard you're taking out my name," and she's like,
Mhm.
totally calmly is like, "Oh, they're lying to you. Like they're lying to you." And
Mhm.
he tells her what May said. May heard it from L.A. Um, he says, "I need you in the game, and I want you in this game with me. And you leaving tonight is bad for me, and me leaving tonight will be
Mhm.
bad for you." So they both agree, and Kuzi's like, "I'm going from LA tonight." And that's the plan going into the round table. But I just think this is so interesting because he's saying this, but his actions are just saying the opposite.
Mhm. So I have a question for you now during this
Yes.
moment. So, you know, outside of outside of the trader room, I feel like we don't get a lot of Mike and Kuzi interaction.
Yeah.
Like which is good because they're both traders, so it makes sense that they stay away. So
Hmm.
when they have this moment of interacting, do you feel that Kuzi should have been more forthright with saying like, okay, I didn't say your name, but this is what happened in the car.
Yeah.
I feel like so. Do you feel Kuzi handled this situation poorly?
Yeah, I do. I think it's good that she didn't go like, "What the fuck? I didn't say anything." Like I'm glad she didn't get like annoyed about it. But I
Mhm.
do think she should have said, "Actually, Mel brought your name up and said you
Yeah,
just kept talking about the red team, and I just said he has to put the red team to rest. Like that just has to go to rest." That was the conversation. Your name
yeah,
came up in the car. Travon's bringing up your name. I sat there because I didn't want it to look like I was defending you too much, but I wanted to bring you the information. She's keeping a little bit too close to the vest, in my
yeah,
opinion, and I think that is what's making Mike really have questions about her. Whereas if she gave all the information to him, maybe he would not be going so hard on this
yeah,
red team thing.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. So I just wanted to see that you were thinking the same way I am. So
Yes.
I'm glad that we're on the same page there. Yeah, I feel like this was a moment again where I wanted to see Kuzi be a bit, just say it. Like if the more you tell the other trader, the more they're going to trust you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Kuzi, like you said, should have just told them a bit more about the whole situation now, as opposed to when we get to the round table where then she wants to open up about the situation. It's like probably not the best time
Yeah.
because all the heat is going to get on you. So
Right. Especially because like they can agree that Mel A should go, but Mike can vote wherever he wants. Like if he feels like the votes are going to be on Kuzi, he could switch his vote to Kuzi in like 2 seconds and
Yeah.
she's out. You know, like I just,
Mhm.
every vote really matters at this point because we're so low on numbers. I don't know. I just think there's a few things I would have loved to see from Kuzi. And like this is, I just think actually in the whole game so far, it feels like the thing that's biting Kuzi is that she's not talking enough. She's not sharing enough with other people. Everybody keeps saying, like, oh, you changed your vote or you're not putting names out there or whatever. She could just be doing more. And I feel like she's not doing enough. And that's what's making her suspicious. Even with Mike, who is like the one person she should be telling kind of everything to.
Yeah, you actually make a good point. I hadn't thought of it like that, but I think that's a good way to frame Kuzi's game, and I think that's kind of what all the faithfuls are saying, like throughout this episode and at the roundtable. It's like, Kuzi, you're not saying enough. You're doing things,
Right.
but then you're not really explaining why you're doing things, or
Yep.
you're saying one thing briefly and then you do the opposite and then you don't explain why. And I
Yep.
feel like in this game there has to be a bit more. I love Kevin, but you don't want to be like Kevin. You don't want to say everything, but
Yeah.
you have to say a little bit more than I feel Kuzi is saying, because Kuzi's only really defending herself when she's on the defense, when someone's attacking her. And I feel like that's not how you want to play this game. You want to be in control of your game. And
Yep.
if someone is coming at you, you're not really in control of the game if you're always playing the defensive. So I agree with you. I feel like Kuzi needs to start giving a bit more. And that's kind of why she is having the situations that she is having.
Yeah, and I think even in the I guess it's called the conclave, I found out in episode 7, when
Mhm.
she's talking to Mike about decisions, she's really letting Mike drive all of the decisions and she's just not even really like speaking up enough there, it seems like. So I just feel like this is eventually probably going to, unfortunately, if she has a downfall, I don't know. I feel like this will be part of the like these looking back on her game, I think this will be a lot of the reason why things didn't go her way.
I agree.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But we get to the round table, and knew that we were going to get an amazing round table tonight. I just felt
That
it.
it was
It was in
so
the air. It was in the
good.
air. So good. I just knew. And we get another confessional from Kuzi saying that if May tries me, I'm ready for her. I will slaughter her with my words. Um,
Mhm.
she was ready. She was ready for May. I was ready for it. So I was strapped in.
Mhm.
Korean's outfit, I know we talked about it, but I wrote in my note, iconic. She looks great. She looks great.
I wrote plaid Barbie in my notes. Like that's what it was giving to
Love
me.
it. Yeah, I love that. I love it. It was kind of like it was like very feminine, but also like punk rock-ish. I don't know. I
Mhm.
loved what she was doing. Um, the total for the pot is $57,500. I don't know how many missions we have left, but for a total of or for a pot of what, 150,000, this is not great for
Yeah.
them. So we'll see. We'll see what happens if they get to make it all up in the last challenge. I have a feeling they will, since we've seen it already happen. So Trevon kicks it off and he says he can't help but think about who Mary and Kevin voted for. They voted for Mike. They voted for Mike. Mike apparently rolled his eyes when he hugged Mary. And Trevon was like, maybe that meant you were gonna go upstairs and murder her tonight. Which, like, I don't know if that actually happened, but he did go upstairs and murder her that night. So, like, is Trevon wrong?
But that's such an absurd take. Like, what? He rolled his eyes. I would be so mad. Whether I wasn't faithful or a traitor, if I were Mike, I'd be like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah, yeah. Maybe
but I
this
guess
is the case, like, for you, how you feel about May. This is how I feel about Trevon, because, like, he's pointing at the right person. Maybe
yeah,
his
that's
logic
true.
isn't all there. Although,
Yeah,
like, the murders and stuff, like, that logic was good. But, like, maybe this one, not the best, but I'm here for it. Also, because I hate Mike.
fair, fair.
Yeah. Um, Mel A starts Mel A Leroy says that Mel A is giving eye nudges and winks to everybody. And everybody else agreed. I was like, what are you talking
Okay,
about? I don't know. This was weird.
thank you. I literally wrote, what are these people talking about?
Yeah,
Like, Trevon with the eye roll, Leroy talking about Melton. Like, it would be so hard for me not to get frustrated if I just
me
keep
too.
thinking if I were in the game and you want to target me, fine. But if these are the reasons you're targeting me, like I can't police my own body language in this
I
game too.
know.
Like I have to police what I say, police my body language. It's like, come on, come on,
I know.
guys.
And this is the stuff that, like, in day one, when people take their blindfolds off of, like, maybe that's when you should be
Yeah.
really thinking about this stuff. But day whatever, this is episode 7, so it's probably day 7. Like, you guys are really still thinking about, like, oh, you rolled your eyes when you hugged Mary. It's like, what? I don't know.
Yeah.
And especially if you have limited time at the round table, let's talk about real things instead of like nudges
Exactly.
and eye rolls and whatever. And like, what is he talking about winks and nudges? I don't know. This is weird.
Like, I can't even imagine Mel. Like, I'm just imagining Mel going,
Like,
like if someone's
yeah,
watching,
exactly. Yeah,
what
like
is he
what? I don't know. This is crazy. Mel A responds and says she's being used as a pawn. They put 3 faithfuls on death row, which again is why they should have murdered her, because she is smart and she's right. The traitors are worried about her now and how hard she's playing, and she immediately throws out Kuzi's name,
Mm-hmm.
which everything she's saying is spot on here. So
So
if
spot
I'm
on.
May and I'm out I'm sorry, not May, Mel, and I'm out at this point and I'm right and I know I'm right and all my logic is right, I'm so pissed that I don't win this game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She was really cooking this round table. I was
she
like,
was.
everything she said made 100% sense. Like the way she said that she's being used as a pawn, the way she
Yep.
explained why she thinks it's Kuzi, because Kuzi finally started talking to her. It's true.
Yep.
It's just Mel just throwing a lot of amazing points out this episode.
Yep. Totally. Meanwhile, Mary was saying nothing
Yeah.
and was upset last episode, and she would have been perfect to keep, but I guess you kept Mel for whatever reason. I don't know. But yes, you're right. She says Kuzi's flying under the radar. She just started talking about her a few days ago, and she says Kuzi threw out Mike's name, and Kuzi says she's lying. I did not throw out Mike's name. What reasons? What reasons did I give? Well, I wouldn't just say Mike's name and not give you a reason why. So what reasons did I give? Which is a good point. That's a good point. You don't just say someone's name and then like not give a reason for saying their name.
Mm-hmm.
And Mel just has nothing to say, and she's like, "You just said his name. Like that's it."
Mm-hmm.
And here comes May. Here comes your girl May. You've been going around changing votes. And Kuzi says, "Did you hear my reasoning? My reasoning makes perfect sense." And May says, "You and I barely talk." And Kuzi goes, "Thank goodness." And I just fucking lost it.
I was
lost it.
I had to pause
it.
the episode because
Me too. I was like, stop.
Kuzi, she's so quick with it. So good.
She is. She's truly an icon. She's
such good TV. Such good TV. But like now to talk about the game part of this, again, you know, I know that we as a viewer know that Kuzi's a traitor.
Yep.
But the way Kuzi is talking it makes too much sense to me if I'm in the game. When she tells her like when she tells May the whole, you know, if I change my vote, I give you a reason to do it. Like it's true that is great logic, but if someone is giving me that logic, it seems like you're thinking about the game a little too much. I don't know. I just feel like Kuzi is saying all the right things that if I were in the game, all my flags would be up. Like, wait, you just told Mel it's true what you said to Mel. Like, if I said her name, give me a reason. Yes, that's correct. And if I did change my vote, I would give you a reason. That is also correct. And it's just, I don't know. I guess it's hard for, again, like as a viewer that we know that she's a traitor, but I just feel like she's saying all the right things.
Yeah.
So that would raise red flags if I were in the game.
Yeah, I could see that, and I agree with you. I think she plays defense maybe a little too well. And I don't know, you have something to defend. That's why you're playing it so well. Where everybody else gets really caught off guard, like Trevon, who when he got called out 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, whenever that was, he was like, "Just send me home. I don't even care. Like whatever." Like, but Kuzi has a rebuttal to everything. So I totally see your point. I see your point.
I want to say thank you, Katie, because you articulated what I was trying to say better than I was saying.
Oh, no, you said great.
Exactly what I wanted to say about Kuzi's game. That's why
she protests too much, I think, a little bit. Yes. But I agree. I think that would put some flags up for me, for sure. Donna jumps in. Our girl. She's defending Kuzi. She said she just feels like there's a sadness in Kuzi because she's getting portrayed. And you know what? Let's go, Donna. Let's go, Donna. I love Donna. She's a mess. I love her. She's great.
Well, I'm sorry, Katie, but this is another moment I was cracking up. I was like, she's saying a whole lot of nothing. What is that?
Oh,
this
yeah.
is another
Nothing.
wink nudge moment. Like, I see sadness in your eyes. And then I felt like the camera panned to Kuzi, and Kuzi was acting down. Kuzi was
Kuzi was like, I feel betrayed. Yes.
Look at me right now, guys. You see this? This is a sad thing because I'm being.
And she says later, I know, I'm sorry, I'm hurt. And I'm like, you just took that from Donna. You took that from Donna.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was just so funny to me the way Donna set that up, and then Kuzi went along with it, and it was great to me. Crazy
Yeah.
reasoning by Donna, but really good for that Kuzi played off of it.
Yes. Oh, Donna's really, she's really given it this up. I mean, everything she's saying is almost wrong except for Mike, but
Yeah.
like, it's just great. I just love it.
Uh,
Mike ends up backing up Kuzi at the round table, says, I don't think you're a traitor. And we get into the conversation about saying Mike's name again. And May does admit she didn't hear from Kuzi directly. She heard it from
mhm,
Mel. And Mel says, I don't remember why you said his name. You just said it and you were spreading his name. And this is where I feel like Mel, if you're going to say it, you got to come with all the receipts of like, what'd she say? What was the reason? Why? Like, if you're going to
mhm,
take a shot, you can't miss. And you really missed here on this one because
mhm,
it just made them sound dumb. Because May was like, well, I didn't hear it myself. Like Mel told me, like just that she said Mike's name, and Mel's like, well, I don't know why you said it. You just said it. Like I don't remember what you said. I don't remember your reason.
mhm.
It's just like, well, you got to remember. If
Yeah,
she did it, you got to
yeah,
remember why.
yeah. I agree. This was unfortunately why I think Mel ended up getting banished. At least make up a reason, girl. Like,
I
or
know. Just make it
or
up.
this, yeah, or this was another situation where Mel could have just been honest. Like, we were in the car. The same thing that I wanted from Kuzi with Mike. This
Yes.
was Mel's chance to do this as a faithful, though. Say we were in the car and we were talking about potential suspects, and I said Mike, and Kuzi was gung ho about it. That would have made me be like, okay. So
Right.
technically, in
What's
my
the
mind, it's
context?
yeah, exactly. And Mel just sat there
Yeah,
like
like I don't
you
know.
can't do that. Yeah.
I don't know why
So
you said it. You just said it. It's just like it doesn't make any sense.
exactly. So if you're faithful, the truth will set you free, Mel. If you
Yes.
want to just
Yes.
said the truth, literally just say exactly what happened and leave it up to people to decide. If they think that's sus from you, fine. But you at least did your part instead of just sitting there stammering and like not giving a good reason and making yourself a bigger target.
Right. It makes it look like you have something to hide because you're not giving the full conversation. But I also would have
Mm-hmm.
liked to see it from Kuzi to be like, actually, you brought up Mike to me when we were sitting outside and you said the thing about the red team. And all I said was that Mike needs to let that go. Like, that was the whole conversation. When did I pinpoint Mike? Like, I would have fully
Yeah.
defended myself and like put it all out there. And I think either way, like, it ended up working out for Kuzi, but I think this was more Mel digging her own grave than Kuzi shutting her down,
Mm-hmm. I
sort
agree.
of. Because, I do think Kuzi did a really good job at this round table, but I think to your point, probably maybe too good of a job. And if Mel and May had more ammo, maybe it would have, not worked out so well for Kuzi. But I just feel like they came ill prepared.
Yep. Ill
Yeah.
prepared is the perfect way to put it.
Yeah. Mess. Um, Mel and Kuzi get into it. One of them calls them honey. I forget who. Did Mel call Kuzi
Yeah.
honey?
So Kuzi calls Mel honey,
Mel
and
honey.
then
And Mel says, don't call me honey.
And then Kuzi says it again under her breath, and everyone looks at Kuzi, and Kuzi's just, it was so, this was another funny moment for me from Kuzi. Kuzi just said it again, like, you don't want me to call you honey? I'm going to say it 10 times. Honey, 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 honey.
I love Kuzi so much. I
It
love
was
her
just
so
fun
much.
to see again from Kuzi.
She's so good. I wish we got to see Kuzi on live feeds.
Oh, that
She
would
would
have
have
been
given
so
so
good.
much.
Would have been so good.
In another life, maybe. Um, we get to
Canada
the
versus
votes.
US.
Canada versus US. Hello, yes. We get to the votes. May, of course, votes for Kuzi. Trevon, Gurleen vote for Melissa. Mike votes for Melissa, but he gives a reason, and he says it's because you didn't bring it to me directly that Kuzi said my name. I heard it from May.
No.
I didn't hate this from Mike because
No.
I thought Mike took a lot of the things that Kuzi was getting heat for, or like Kuzi was getting a lot of heat for changing her vote without saying why. And I think he
Mm-hmm.
gave a good reason here. And she didn't. Like, if you had Mike's back and you're using this as a reason to target Kuzi, you didn't even tell Mike. May told Mike. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Melissa votes for Kuzi. Everybody else votes for Mel. But Kuzi, when she votes for Mel, says, I do not hate you. My feelings are just very hurt. And that's when I was like, okay. Okay, Kuzi.
Academy Award. She's acting.
Mm-hmm. 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 Are you surprised that the roundtable went this direction?
So first thing I want to say, production is pissing me off again because in the preview for this episode, they made it seem like Mike and Kuzi were going to go at it.
Yes.
But it actually turned out the exact opposite. Mike was actually defending Kuzi at the round table. So that's the first thing. Secondly, going into the round table, I was really scared for Kuzi. I'm not going to lie.
Me too.
I thought that it was gonna be bad for Kuzi. And I wouldn't say I'm shocked that Melissa went home because there was definitely traction on Melissa's name, and she handled that conversation really poorly with
Mm-hmm.
when Kuzi when she was saying that Kuzi said Mike, blah blah blah. But I guess it's more so I just wish Melissa were not gone because I think she was playing so well.
Yeah, she was. She
And she
was.
was just getting everything so right, and it infuriates me in the show when the people who are getting things right get voted out. But ultimately, I do understand why Mel got voted out, and it wasn't as shocking as like when Fierce got voted out or when like Kevin got voted out. I understand why Mel got voted out. She really did, put her foot in the mouth to put her foot in the mouth. Honestly,
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
about you?
I
Was you
agree.
shocked?
I was the same as you. I was really worried about Kuzi. It seemed like her name was getting a lot of traction. I was also surprised that it wasn't more Mike focused because we did get a lot of like Trevon versus Mike. Donna was saying she
Mm-hmm.
thought it was Mike. So I thought we were going to get maybe not necessarily a split vote, but like Mike didn't get one vote. Kuzi only got two votes, Melissa and May. So I was surprised at maybe the traction on Mel. And not a few rogue votes going towards Kuzi. Um, yeah, I was surprised. I was pretty surprised.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. I think I like seeing faithfuls who are good at the game who are right. I don't like when people fall backwards into being right and then like get stuck on it because to me that's bad gameplay. You just like picked a random person and then you're right. Mel, I think all of the logic made sense. Everything she said was exactly what was happening. She's good at the
Mm-hmm.
game and I want to see people who are good at the game play the game. I don't want to see the Mickeys and the Leroys. If I'm a trader, I'm keeping the Mickeys and the Leroys,
Oh
obviously.
yeah.
I'm keeping the Quentin and the Andys, obviously. But as a viewer, I want to see the Mels and the Kevins and people like that play the game because
Mm-hmm.
they're entertaining because they're right. So it's like interesting to watch them maneuver.
Yeah.
So shout out to Mel. Rest in peace. I liked Mel. I thought she was good TV.
Agreed.
Everybody's freaking out when Mel leaves and she says she's a traitor. I think Trevon throws the chalk across the
Oh
room. This was
my god.
so dramatic. So dramatic.
He was sobbing, Katie.
Sobbing.
Like
Sobbing.
just
This
it
is
was.
where I have to walk it back on Trevon.
Hey, thank you. I
This
was
is
just
where.
about to say this is why I'm like not gung ho about Trevon yet. Like he's moving on up. Don't get me wrong,
Hmm, hmm,
but to see
hmm.
him sob over this vote was just so funny to me.
This was so wild.
It
Not
reminded
only
me
is he
again of like
sobbing at the table,
yeah.
he's sobbing after. And I feel like Karine like comes up to him and she just
She
like
like
looks at
hugged
him
his hand.
and then
Yeah,
she's just like bonsoir and she leaves. Like she doesn't even like say, she just leaves. And I'm like, yeah, I would leave
she
too.
just
I
like
don't
literally
want to be
pressed
around
him
this.
like calm down and then left. It was so
Yep.
good. Oh my
So
god.
good.
But
Oh
yeah, this was
God.
insane. See Trevon just sob. His hat falls off. He's just making
The
a scene.
throwing of the chalk was so
Like
wild.
so
The
good.
drama, the drama,
The drama.
the
But you
drama.
see, I will say, moving forward, if I were in the game, I would never think Trevon's a traitor. So
Neither would
he's
I.
probably not thinking about this as a game move. But that's why I feel like if I were playing this game and as a viewer, I'm always thinking that everything is a potential game move.
Hmm.
So this is a good move from him if he never wants to be seen as a traitor. Not that I feel like there's ever going to be. I foresee Trevon making it very far.
Yeah.
And like this whole scene here, either he's a really great actor or he's a faithful, and I would lean towards he's a faithful. So
Yep.
if I were on the
Yep.
show, so good for him, even though he's probably not doing it for game.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think he's doing a lot for the game. I think he's trying, but I don't think much of what he does is for the game. I do think if I'm a traitor, I'm murdering Trevon because everybody knows that he's a faithful. So why am I going to
Yeah.
keep him around? He's never going to get voted out at the round table. I may as well get rid of him now. He's going to make it to
Mm-hmm.
the end. No one's going to vote him out. And this is kind of what I want to see from everybody. Like, why are we voting out the Marys or like murdering the Marys and like other people? Like, I guess Fierce likely is not a traitor either, so that's fine. But I just, oh well, Fierce wasn't murdered either. I just, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like some of the decision making is not great. I would like to see people like Mickey get murdered because no one's voting out Mickey. So why do you want Mickey there? He's not getting any traction at the end of the day. Like he's just get him out.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my opinion, but who knows? Um, we see May come for Mike a little bit. and say, you publicly said you trusted Mike. Yeah, and I wrote just like Trevon is sobbing over Kareem trying to speak. Like he's just sobbing. This is wild. And he said for the first time in this competition he wants to be wrong, and he was, and he didn't realize it was going to hurt this much.
The drama.
The drama. The drama.
So, Katie, just
yes.
random question, because we also see Mel A crying here.
Oh yeah, she's just crying at seeing the votes. She's just crying.
I guess we don't know because we haven't been on reality TV. But do you feel like you understand why these people get so emotional? Because part of me doesn't really get it.
I understand why Kevin was the way Kevin was, and I probably would be similar to that. But I wouldn't be crying and sobbing if someone gets voted out. I mean, maybe if someone I'm close to got voted out, I would be sad, but I don't think I would be sobbing and throwing chalk across the room. And I don't think I would be crying if my game is coming to an end. I would just be like, especially if I know I'm a faithful, I'd be like, I'd be maybe a little, I didn't love the way Rachel Riley handled her roundtable, but I would be a little bit like Rachel Riley at the roundtable and be like, you guys are so stupid. You guys are so dumb. You know I'm not a traitor. You're never going to win this game. You're all idiots. Like that would be me probably. I don't think I would be sobbing or crying.
Yeah.
I would want the last word.
Yeah, I would literally be like, I would be mad. Like I would be mad like Kevin, mad like Rachel. Like I would just be like, can you idiots please don't do this? I swear on everything, guys, please. Like I would just be so like, I would throw the chalk, but not because I'm sobbing, but because I'm like
mad.
And break the chalk.
Yes, me too. I just think like, especially if it's dumbasses that are voting me out, I would be enraged. I would be enraged if a Trevon is voting me out, if a Quentin is voting me out, and he's gonna potentially win the game over me, and he's so dumb. I would be beside myself, angry. If Cerie's beating me, I'm not mad. She's an icon.
Yeah.
If Kuzi's beating me, maybe she hasn't been playing great, but she's still very good at the game. I wouldn't be that mad. I got outplayed. But if some idiot is just putting my name down for no reason, then I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Then I'm pissed. So no, I don't think I would be crying, wiping tears off my face and smudging my makeup all over. I don't think that would be me. But who knows?
I will say I could see myself maybe like if I were on a show like Big Brother, which is 100 days, and I make it really far, I wouldn't be sobbing, but I can foresee like a little thug tear coming out. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm so close to winning my favorite show, Then I could see it, but I don't think I would ever be like dry heaving, like sobbing type of crying. No, especially not on a show as short as the Traitors.
Yes. I'm thinking Traitors specifically. Big Brother, I think all bets are off. Like you're in a house with people for 100 days, you get connected, you get emotional. Plus, like you're wasting so much of your time to go out like fourth. I would send me out first. Don't send me out fourth. Like I can't. Exactly. I agree with you. After the roundtable, May's pissed. She's pissed. And she's like, I'm going to get voted out tonight, murdered tonight, and I don't even care. Someone says they don't take the game personally. They make it personal. And then she like brings up the thank God comment. I'm like, okay, so like, but you're taking it personally right now is what you're doing. Actually, the whole thing is personal. It's all personal. This is why I don't fuck with May.
But it's just so like, it's so messy. I don't know. I like reactive people on reality TV. And May is very reactive. TV. So I think that's what I like about May. That I like those kind of people, And I don't know, she really hasn't rubbed me the wrong way. And I think, like I said earlier, it's just because the fact that she's on someone who is a traitor. Like if she were Quentin and Andy and on someone who's not a traitor, then I think I'd be like, you need to get this girl out. She's annoying as hell, blah, blah, blah. I definitely want to put that disclaimer that I understand why someone would find May annoying. But I think for the fact that she's doing it towards someone who is a traitor, to me, that for some reason makes it more entertaining.
That's fair. I was more entertained by her versus Rick, I think, than I am by her versus Kuzi. And not because Kuzi isn't eating her up and spitting her out, because she is. I'm just thinking about Rick, just like, remind me, did you lose your show? I just thought, I don't know. That's going to live with me forever. I just thought it was so good. I just loved it. I mean, Rick was really living rent free in her brain. I just loved their dynamic. It was so good.
The only other thing I want to say, you just bring me out like, I like May, I really do. But May has really been getting eaten up by everyone on this cast. They just throw such good shade at May, and May just does not know how to throw shade. So sorry, May, but you got ate up by Rick. You've been getting eaten up by Kuzi. I'm still supporting you, May, but if you're ever on reality TV again, you got to work. You got to be a little
Yeah,
faster
she's got to work on
with your
it.
comebacks. You got to be a bit shadier, because that would be even better TV if May was also shady as opposed to
Yes.
just emotionally like reactive. If May was able to like dish it also, that would make even better TV, because I love to see two petty people go at
Yes, like I would watch that in a second. I would be rooting for May. I would be so
it. Yeah,
excited, but she just sits there and she cries and she gets so
yeah,
upset and so emotional that I'm like, you're not made for this. You're not made for this. And
that's
I
fair.
can't anymore with you. I'm sorry. I can't. And if I were in the house, I'd be like, oh my God, it's been a week. Like, just relax. Why are
Yeah,
you so freaking out all the time? She would just annoy me. I can just tell.
I
Um,
get
we she says Kuzi is policing her tone and her volume, and she says, "Who are you to tell me how to speak?" And I just thought this was a little ridiculous,
Yeah,
personally.
she went a little far there. Like no one is
No one's policing
policing
you.
nothing. Kuzi's
She just
literally
made you look
saying,
dumb.
yeah, and Kuzi's just saying, don't speak to me at all. Kuzi's not saying lower your voice. Kuzi's not saying don't yell at me. Kuzi's not saying talk to me nice. Kuzi's saying just don't talk to me.
Yeah, just don't talk to me. How about that?
Act like
Just
I
don't talk.
don't exist.
Right. Yeah, this was a little, I don't know, victim complex for May a little bit. I don't
Yeah,
love it.
there she lost me a bit. Like, don't try to paint Kuzi as something that she's not.
No,
She's
she's
not
playing
what.
the game, and you came
Yeah,
for her. If you can't handle the heat, get out of the damn kitchen, May. You
and
just
that's why
like
she lost MasterChef, because she could not handle the
she.
kitchen.
Oh yes, Javier. Sorry, May. We cut to Trevon having a total meltdown, like in the pool room or something, like around a pool table, sobbing again. Is he with Kuzi here? I don't remember. I didn't write down who he was with. I thought he was with Kuzi.
I don't remember either.
I don't, but he was just like, "This is my auntie. I loved her." I'm like, "You've known her for 7 days. She's not dead. She's not
Yeah.
actually dead. She's fine. You're gonna see her in like a couple of days. You're good. Just chill. You're one step closer to winning money. Like, just relax."
Mm-hmm.
Um, then we get a conversation between Kuzi and Mike, which I think is interesting. She tells him that it's rubbish that she was saying his name. It's not true. Mike kind of, I think, thinks she did say it. I think we get that from him in the confessional. He's like, I think she did say my name. And Kuzi is just concerned about breaking the trust. Like, we've gone so far in this game for our dynamic to crack now. And I just think this is another area, and maybe she did this, but where Kuzi could have said, let me tell you exactly the conversation. I almost feel like this is a little too late for her to say it, but like anytime,
Yeah.
just say it and just get it out there of like, this is actually the full conversation. But I just think Mike is like, well, she gave me a reason, so I'm going to go for her full force now, which unfortunately I understand where Mike is kind of coming from here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just how you said. I see why Mike is talking about wanting to call out Kuzi, and just, you know, the cracks are getting bigger between the two traders, and I think now we're actually setting up for Mike versus Kuzi, and hopefully the
think so.
producers are not playing with me again. So I mean, I'm gonna ask you, Katie. I think the best way to end this episode is, who do you think is gonna win out, Mike or Kuzi? Now, who do you want to win out? Based on how the game has been going, who do you think has more heat on them, and who do you think is gonna lose the trader war? Or maybe they make up. Maybe we're both. Maybe I'm wrong, and they'll be fine. What do you think is the outcome?
I unfortunately think Mike is going to maybe win this war because it feels like he's ready. He's ready. He says to us in a confessional, he's coming up with a plan to frame Kuzi. He's already coming up with a plan. She's trying to work it out. He's coming up with a plan to cut her.
Yeah.
Called out Mel B. I have no problem calling out you, Kuzi. So he's just kind of done, it feels like. And I think, unfortunately, that's how you have to play this game, is
Yep.
you have to be able to cut the ties when you need to cut the ties. And Kuzi doesn't feel like she's ready to cut the Mike ties, where she could, because there is suspicion out on Mike too. She just has to play it right. And I think, I don't know how it's going to go for a girl Kuzi, but I do think that the faithfuls really need to vote out a traitor soon, because they only got one in like the second or third episode, and tensions are high. There's not that many people left. It's just like one of the traders has got to go soon for things to calm down a little bit, I think.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you. You know, this kind of reminds me of Traders US, where Christian and Sari were ready to take out Cody, and Cody wasn't ready to take them out, and that's why they got Cody out. And unfortunately, it feels like Mike is ready to take Kuzi out, but Kuzi is. I mean, unless Kuzi is thinking this, from all we're seeing, Kuzi's still I want to keep working with Mike. I'm not ready to cut ties with Mike, and it's very sad to see because I'm rooting for Kuzi and I want her to come out on top, and maybe she will, because there, like you said, it's not like there's no heat on Mike. She can still turn this around. She can still get soldiers and people to support her and survive this and get Mike out like she did this week with Melee. But she's gonna have to, change her gear and become it's kind of you versus Mike now. It's not necessarily y'all versus all the faithfuls anymore. So I hope that she flips that switch, and I think that's the only way that she can continue on in this game. She starts to, maybe not necessarily go gung-ho against Mike, but start to plant little seeds, which I feel Mike has been planting seeds, the whole let's keep up the red team theory, et cetera, et cetera. We haven't seen Kuzi plant any seeds that Mike can potentially be a traitor. So hopefully she does. I'm hoping it for that.
I know, and I'm looking at who's left. So we have May, Trevon, Gerline, Mike, Melissa, Leroy, Donna. I'm sorry, we don't have Melissa. Hold on. May, Trevon, Gerline, Mike, Leroy, Donna, Mickey, Kuzi. So we have 8 people left. One's going to get murdered, so we have 7 people. So it's only going to take 4 votes at the next round table, right?
Yeah.
So if Kuzi can get Leroy and Gerline and Donna to target Mike, she's good. But she has to put the work in, because she could say, Mike is really throwing out this red team. Go to Leroy, go to Gerline and say, Mike keeps putting out this red team thing, and I really think it's because he's a traitor and he's trying to frame it on one of us. And look at the people who have been murdered. Look at what Trevon is saying. Oh yeah, I mean, she has Trevon's vote already. I mean, Trevon wants Mike out too. Like, she could get the votes here. I think Mike really would only have May and maybe Mickey, but it seems like Mickey could potentially get murdered. Oh, but actually, no. They're talking about Mickey. They're talking about May. They're talking about Leroy. They're talking about Mickey. That's who they're talking about in the what's it called? I keep forgetting. We do get like a little bit of the murder.
Oh yeah, like the little
the conclave or whatever they call
it. Tower.
Yeah.
The tower.
Yes. And those are the names that are out there. So if Mickey's gone, I mean, I don't know. Like, it just feels like, I don't know. Who does Mike have that's going to be with him?
Yeah, you would think that Kuzi's in a better position, though, especially the way you just explained it. Kuzi seems to have more allies than Mike at the moment.
Yeah, which could work in her favor. Maybe that means she could win it. If she is able to pivot and say, this guy's coming for me. It's like when there's a crack in the glass, it's only going to get bigger. You're not going to be able to fix it. You can't fix a crack in the glass. You have to replace the glass. It's like you can't fix the glass. It's already broken. The glass is broken, Kuzi. The crack is only going to get bigger and bigger. It's like a little nut hit the windshield, and it's like a little dot, but it's only going to splinter out and become a bigger crack. You got to pivot, take that windshield out, replace it, bring in a different traitor, whatever you got to do. But I just need her to see the signs a little bit more, because I think she would have it if she did.
Exactly. The last thing I want to say is I just hope that she doesn't allow the May beef to cloud her judgment and make her target May. Like, targeting May is not the move, Kuzi. I promise you it is. I don't think it's the move. I mean, again, maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think it's the move either.
But if Kuzi allows the whole May drama to confound her game, it's just, I feel like that would be the final nail in Kuzi's game. So I hope she does not go gung-ho against May.
I hope that too. They say that, when they're talking, they say, May is a problem for Kuzi. But if she goes, and Kuzi gets all the heat. So it does seem like at least Kuzi knows that. And I think they said about Trevon too. Like, if Trevon has been saying that, Mike has murdered people, like, that could be a problem. And I think Mike even says, like, everybody who spoke his name has got murdered. So, like, if this happens and they speak my name, like, I understand why they do, because that is what happened. So I don't think Trevon's getting murdered. And I hope that May is not murdered. The other 2 names that are out there are Leroy and Mickey, and they're both in the preview for next week.
Yeah.
Which pissed me off, because I'm like, don't spoil me that it's Trevon or May.
Yeah, exactly. Because I genuinely, before I saw the preview, I was like, oh, they're going to kill Mickey.
Yeah, because that's the easiest thing. There's no blood if you kill Mickey.
Heat on Mike. If you kill May, it throws heat on Kuzi. Bet, let's not throw heat on either of ourselves, and let's kill
Mickey,
Mickey.
just kill him. He's not aligned with anybody that we can even see. Is he even playing the game? What's he doing? Kill him. It's no blood on either one of your hands. It doesn't point to either one of you. Anybody could literally do it. But it seems like Trevon or May is going, and I just think either one of these people going is a bad decision.
Yeah. You know what would be really bad actually? If Gerline goes.
Oh yeah, that would be
For
really bad.
Kuzi's game, all I'm thinking
Oh
about
my
is Kuzi's
god.
game. Kuzi cannot allow Gerline to go, and Kuzi should not allow May to go. If Mike gets his way again and May goes, it's really, to me, looking very bad for Kuzi.
Oh my god.
She
Yeah.
needs to put her foot down and be like, bro, we need to get out either Trevon or, I mean, now we know Mickey's not dead, but she cannot allow May to die. I feel like it'd be very bad for her game.
I think Trevon leaving would be bad for Kuzi's game too, because he thinks it's Mike. He doesn't think it's Kuzi. So if I'm
True.
Kuzi, I'm like, Mike's got to go. Mickey, whatever his name. Mickey's got to
Mickey.
go. And I don't want Leroy to go either because he's one of the only other two people in the red team left. So like we can't keep losing these red team people and letting Mike have more ammo. I honestly just
Bro, where's
recruit,
this
you guys.
Donna? We
Just
completely forgot
recruit.
about Donna. What if they kill Donna?
Oh, I hope they don't kill Donna. Oh, I would be
Wait,
so
that is
sad.
actually another
I
good
mean,
person
honestly,
to
they could
kill.
kill Donna. Yeah, they could kill
Yeah, if
Donna.
not Mickey, it could be. But they didn't mention Donna in the deliberation.
They didn't. I don't
Uh,
remember if we saw Donna in the preview. I don't remember.
Me neither.
But we did not see May. We did not see Trevon. So, I mean, you know, the editors have made us think all these things are going to happen in the preview and they haven't actually happened.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But I really just want them to recruit. I wrote,
Can they
no,
recruit?
recruit somebody. Yeah, they deliberated and they were like, should we recruit? And I think Mike said, at this point, no one's gonna say yes after what just
Yeah,
happened.
Mike
But
goes for
like,
murder.
recruit a rando. If they say no, that's your next murder. Like, it doesn't matter if they say no. Just kill them. That's a
Mhm.
great reason to kill them. I don't know. It just seems, guys, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
They do confirm that they want to go to the end together. I don't believe it. We know that that's not the case for Mike anyway.
Yeah.
So, oh, Kuzi, wake up, Kuzi. We need you to wake up. I want to shake her. Just wake up from the stream.
We were all rooting for you,
I
Kuzi. Please.
know.
Silent Podcast Sign the Traitors is rooting for you, Kuzi. So I hope you ended up making a good move in this next week.
I know. I know. Oh, well, this was an episode. You know, I'll go 10 out of 10 for this episode. This is a great episode. After recapping it and like refreshing my brain about everything that happened, I watched it on Tuesday. So I'm like, yeah, this was a great episode. I was watching it and like screaming at the TV.
Exactly. There were just so many moments. Like whether the gameplay was good or bad, there was just so many good moments for me this episode, which I hadn't got since like the episode where May had her first meltdown. That was like
yes, that was the last
my
really
last
good
amazing
episode.
episode. But I think this was the next, so
Yes,
I was happy.
agreed.
Enjoyed it.
Me too. Anything else to say about this episode this week?
No, we covered. We talked. We delved in. Wow, we
I know
really
we
did. I
did.
like it. There was
We
a lot to
did.
cover. I liked it.
I love that like the show is an hour, really like 45 minutes with commercials, and we're talking for an hour and 22 minutes about it. That's how you know it was a good episode when we have a lot to talk about.
Exactly. That's this is our longest episode yet, and we covered
I
2
know.
episodes on the first
We
one.
did, and it was less than than this.
So that tells you there's a lot of strategy going on.
Yeah,
a lot
they're
of
giving it to
gameplay,
us.
a lot of mess. So
Yes.
keep it pushing these last few episodes.
Yes, please. All right, Javier. Well, where can everybody find you? What are you up to?
Yes, so everyone can find me at _ the Starboy on Twitter. Now that Big Brother's done, thankfully, I no longer have to tweet about that show. I now am actually tweeting a lot about the Challenge 39, y'all. It's been a pretty good season seeing all newbies, to me especially, since I like fall off a lot. So I really have no relation to any of these people. So it kind of feels like I'm watching like a new show. So I've been tweeting a lot about that. So follow me on Twitter to get all my thoughts there. And of course, catch me here every week on Sign the Traitors, where we'll be discussing the Traitors Canada. What about you, Katie? Where can people find you?
Well, thankfully Big Brother's done for me too, but you can find me on Twitter at RealSimKatie. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/RealSimKatie_ at the end. I'm planning on being back on Twitch hopefully this week, maybe tomorrow, TBD. But if not, hopefully this weekend. I'm planning on getting back into a normal streaming schedule now that, we're on a hiatus with Pod What Happens Live. Big Brother's over. We can go back to Twitch for a little bit. So check me out there if you would like. And speaking of Big Brother, Isaiah and I interviewed Jag yesterday for Bounce Check. So check that out. That's up on our YouTube, and we'll post the audio as well for you podcast listeners so you can listen. We had an interesting conversation with our winner of Big Brother 25. Tried to get some answers. I don't really know where we landed on it, but we tried. So check that out.
Really good interview, guys. Please check it
Thank
out.
you. Thank you. We
Y'all
tried. We
really
tried
killed
to
the
we
trade.
tried
You
to
guys did
dig.
a great job.
Thank you. But yeah, other than that, that's it for me. It's been a quiet, I'm here with you every week. That's really it. Quiet podcasting season for me now that Big Brother's done. So, yeah, check us out at Silent Podcast if you want to keep up with everything we're doing. Follow us on Twitter. That's the best place to stay up to date. Silent_podcasts is our handle there. And you can listen to us on any audio platform that has podcasts. So if you are an audio only listener, check us out. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I use Pocket Casts. We're everywhere. And you can, if you're an audio listener and want to see our beautiful faces, you can follow us on Twitch at Silent Podcast and on YouTube on Silent Podcast. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll be back next week with round 2, I guess, or the first real round of Mike versus Kuzi. We'll see.
Yes, excited, y'all.
Yeah. Bye,
Bye.
everybody. Thank you.